Hello everyone, so this is a recap of week 2's activities using Bandlab. I'm just going to take you through the steps of what we did in the second session. If you need to remember how to get into Bandlab in the first place, maybe have a look at the first session and hopefully you will have remembered your login details. So, first thing we did this week, we made sure that we went over to My Library, that folder with the 2 notes on it. And we went to Mix Editor to start a new project. Once it had loaded up, we pressed Instruments. And then at this point, we had our keyboard that we looked at last week. We're going to move away from that for this week. Go down to this bit at the bottom where it says Instruments, Effects, and Midi Editor. We're going to click on that third one. Okay, this brings up a different sort of display here. We don't have the keyboard to play the keys anymore. We have instead a keyboard as a reference thing on the left. And basically we've got a place where we can now draw our notes on. Let's get rid of those ones. Okay, so we've got 3 buttons here that are going to be important for us. We've got Select Note, which once we've put one on, we'll then be able to select it and do various things to modify it. We've got this one here, which is looking like a pencil, which is Add Note. If we click on that, that's how we then basically draw them on. We can just click on them, and that will give us essentially a note on whatever pitch we've put it on, at whatever length the last note that we made was. So by standard, as you start it up, it will just do it for, I think this is half a beat. Yeah, half a beat, or a quaver. Okay. And then we've got a third one, which is to do with note velocity. Velocity is another name for how loud or quiet the note is. Certainly within any of these sort of digital methods, they use velocity rather than talking about dynamics specifically. It's just the same thing, essentially, just a different set of terms for it. Okay, so what we did at this point, starting on a C, doesn't really matter which one, but I'm on C3 at this point. We typed in, or clicked in, the tune for Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So we need C, another C, going up to G. If you're not sure where that is, just count up the keys. C, D, E, F, G. We've got 2 Gs. We're just spacing these apart to hit each of the beats that we've got on the top. So that's beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. And those are all of bar 1. Bar 2, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. Okay, so we've got C, then a C, G, G, and A, and then back to G. And then I'm going to go over to here for F, E, D, and back down to C. I'm just trying to make sure I put it in the right place there. There we are. So if I play this now, there we are. So we've drawn in Twinkle Twinkle Little Star into the editor there. Okay. A couple more features I want to show you then. First is this one here that says Legato. Now, Legato, hopefully you all remember from previous sessions when we've gone over this. Legato means smooth. So when I press it, I just needed to select all of those. When I press it, what it should do is make it so each note then connects to the next one. So just look at them at the moment. They're all nice and separated out. If I press Legato, they are all made longer to meet up to the next note. Or, in this case, to the end of the bar if it's a long note at the end. So I'm just going to play that one more time for you. Good, there we are. So that's all nice and smooth now. Right, going back to this bit here that says velocity, we're going to try a bit of editing this at this point. Now what we can do, at the moment this has got them all selected, so if I drag it upwards, it's making it so the velocity goes up, or essentially it gets louder. If I drag it downwards, they get quieter. So let's just show the difference between those. And then if I drag it down, oh, it's gone off of them. Okay, let me just reselect all those notes. Pressing velocity, I can then, apparently not. There you are, you have to be doing it whilst touching a note. Okay, I can then drag it down and this should be nice and soft now, or piano. There we are. Okay, let's drag those up a bit. Right. If you want to do individual notes, just have one note selected, and you can either drag upwards or downwards like I did, or if you just have the note selected, having used the cursor thing there for select note, this bar here where it says velocity, you can drag up or down that one. Okay. If you want to do it for multiple notes, but not the ones that are next to each other, if you hold shift and click, the notes that you want to do, you can then change all of those at the same time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it so all of our first notes of the repeated notes are the louder ones, and all of the second ones, there we are, all of the second ones are going to be our quiet ones. So I'm going to drag that slider down. There we are. There should be quite a big difference now. There we are. 26 is quite quiet on the velocity. That might have been too big a difference. Let's put it up to about 53 instead. There we are, so that gives you quite a good echo effect then, if you do that. So you can change, essentially you can change any of them to whatever level you want. I hesitate to press this button, but it does also have a button that allows it to just pick a random amount. Not a big fan of the idea of random, but if you want to press it, you can do. Okay, there we are. Right, couple more things to show you. We're now going to go and head up here to this bit at the top where we've got this little squiggle, which is essentially a line with a couple of dots in it for changing which direction the line's going to go. If we hover over it, it should say show/hide automation. I'm going to click on that, and that brings up this line across your track. On the drop-down bit, it says volume at the moment, so you could probably guess from this point what it's going to do. But if we drag it up, it's going to increase the volume of that point. And if we drag down, it will make it quieter. So if you look at this line going along here, going in this direction, going from the top of being quite loud down to the bottom, it's going to get quieter. Let me just play that to you. There we are, lovely diminuendo. Do the same thing going back the other direction. There we are. You can have as many points on this as you like, going up and down in all sorts of different ways. However, if you cross over a previous one, it will delete the previous points. So if I do that, it gets rid of the previous ones because you've kind of overwritten it at that point. As long as you haven't let go, you can drag back to them though, and they'll all come back. If you let go, then they're gone. So you can do as many points as you like. Just be aware that the messier it looks, the messier it will probably sound. There we are. So we're using that volume. It's got that sort of feel of coming forward and back towards you and away from you. Right. Now we've got another bit of direction here. We're going to go to the drop-down menu bit here, and we're going to press... Actually, I'm just going to reset that first. If you're not happy with what you've got, you can right-click on it, press Reset Automation, and it will just bring it back to a straight line again. Okay, we're now going to go to the second one in the drop-down, which says Pan. Pan is to do with where the sound is coming from. So if you've got two speakers or a pair of headphones, and generally I'd suggest using a pair of headphones for something like this anyway, then it will change whether you're hearing it mostly in the right or in the left or somewhere in the middle. Okay? Think a little bit like if you're in your orchestra and you've got your violins on the left, your violas, your cellos, your basses. You can move all of those things to be, if you're doing something like this, in those places, just virtually. Okay? Just to show you what that can do, I'm going to go from the top on there. The higher the pan, the more to the right it goes. So having done that, everything will probably come out of my right speaker, my right headphone. And if I drag down to here, it will then come out of the left speaker. Good. Now that definitely works for me. I don't know if that will translate across when I upload this, or whether it will just have mixed it down to one audio track and therefore you can't hear the difference. But for me, that's like it's coming through this speaker, coming across me over to this side. A bit like if you think about it like an ambulance going past you, you can hear it there, it goes, and that idea of it sort of going across you. Although it's not going to do any Doppler effect, luckily. Okay, right. I think that's everything that we covered, essentially. There were just a couple of other things that were done in questions afterwards. So if you need to change a note or delete it, go to the select bit. If you right-click on it, it gives you a few options. But the delete one is there. If you need to change a note because you made a mistake on it, you can just left-click on it, or probably on the tablet, just press and hold, and then drag it around. Okay. We quite often use this MIDI editor sort of bit if, say, you did the instrument track to begin with. Let me just do another track on this. So if I tried playing it using this keyboard here and recording it, so I've just recorded that by pressing the keys on this keyboard there. But if we listen back to it, you can hear, certainly with the metronome going, that I haven't got them in exactly the right place. So once you've done that, if you click on MIDI Editor, you can see where it's put them. Or very far away from the lines. Haven't done a great job of this one at all. So you could then select notes and drag them to the right place. Oop. I'm just going to show you doing that throughout these. Now there is an automatic function that will do this, and I hadn't showed this in the session that we were doing. It can be good, or it can be quite bad. It's this one here that's called quantize. Essentially, it can be good because essentially it does what I just did then, of dragging everything to fit onto a beat so that it's in the right place. Except if you played it closer to a different part of the beat, it will drag it to that place instead. You might find it's actually more out of place than when you just played it incorrectly to begin with. Okay, so if I did it like that, I could then drag and select all of these. Oh, God. It's a terrible noise when you do that, sorry. Could drag and select them all like that, and then if I wanted it all to join together, press the legato button, and there we go. There we are. And this is probably about the only way that I could present myself as a perfect pianist, is by editing it all down like this. Okay, I hope that that has given you enough explanation of this stuff. If you do have any questions from it, maybe save them for next week and type them into the chat so I can try and answer them in future. Okay, right. Thank you very much, and I will see you next week.